Hey everybody, it's Joe from the Strange Voyage Files, and I am here doing just kind of an unboxing, but I've had this for a while. This is that Pyromania 40th Anniversary Edition, the CDs. I think there was a vinyl that went along, or was a little different, or something like that. I have no idea. I got this on a whim. It was on sale. I was not going to buy this at all, and I just ended up getting it because it was like almost half price. So I figured, now I'm not going to rank Pyromania. I'll do that later. Great album, no clunkers whatsoever. But I did want to kind of take a minute to look over this thing. And one of the things I want to point out, I always knew there was a song. I think I said this in a previous video, and I have this book, Animal Instinct, that I used to read when I was in high school. There is, okay. Too Late for Love has no words at all until Joe trotted out an old set of lyrics left over from an ancient Leppard stage number called The Ship Sails Tonight. Ship had been a staple of the band's disastrous High and Dry winter club tour, but it had never made it to vinyl. Joe had used the words from Ship for another melody, with another melody for about 5 shows, then ditched the lot, but they fitted nicely with Too Late for Love, which has stayed. All right. Why did I read that? Because the only thing that we got that was like a pretty kind of finished, unreleased song was No, You Can't Do That. I get that This Ship Sails Tonight is an early version of Too Late for Love. They could have recorded it. You know, they could have, or I don't know. I mean, I guess if it's a club tour, could have been really bad. But for the hell of it, they could have just recorded it and said, "Hey, this was the early version of Too Late for Love." And this is what kind of aggravates me because there's a lot of stuff running around. There's the reason I didn't buy the that early years set from Def Leppard because I was so aggravated. There's a song. Now I gotta pull it up. I just had it up. Hang on 1 second. I had to move the keyboard over here. What song was it? From Reading. Long Way From Home. Which I think is, I don't know. When the Rain, there's also When the Rain Falls. Now that was on that Reading CD from that early years box set. But Long Way From Home, it does turn into, When the Rain Falls, I believe, becomes Let It Go. Long Way From Home is it becomes something else too. There's also Beyond the Temple. There's Glad I'm Alive, Heat Street, See the Lights. I think War Child was released. Maybe one of those three, the Glad I'm Alive, Heat Street, See the Lights, were released. But here's my thing. Def Leppard has a treasure trove of stuff from when they were awesome that they could master and release. If you could get that When the Rain Falls, if you ever heard that original version from Reading before it was mastered, it's terrible. They could master anything. They could master The Ship Sails Tonight. They could master, any of these other songs. Beyond the Temple, which isn't a bad. If you heard that, because that was a radio session, not a bad recording at all. That is why I did not get that early sessions, because it was just stuff we had with a couple extras thrown in. But again, I was not going to get this because the only thing is that's a real demo is No, You Can't Do That, and that has no words to it. It has no lyrics. It's a cool song. I definitely see why they left it out. It is a good song, but it kind of didn't fit what they were going for with Pyromania. It actually sounds, if anything, more like something that would have gone off the first album, in my opinion. But it was good. And then there's 6 untitled things that are just, ideas. So I was like, this is not really anything I'm running around to get. But it was half price, and for some reason I caught it, and it was like, okay. So I did end up getting this, and, it has the original album remastered and whatnot. It has a bunch of rough mixes of songs, and then and then there's live stuff, one from Germany and one from the LA Forum, and they sound great. Um, and I'll show you guys this in a second. They do sound great. This is back when Joe really sounded phenomenal live. I have seen Def Leppard in the past 10 years live. Joe doesn't sound all that great. Okay, so here's a book. Nice and whatnot, but they pull a Sharon Osbourne. Because as you look through pictures, you know who's not in here? That's right, Pete Willis. Now, I looked at this yesterday, and maybe I missed, but I think I pretty much went through every page. And they're erasing, just like Sharon is trying to erase Lee and Bob, they're trying to erase Pete Willis from history. And Pete Willis's name is on some very successful Def Leppard songs. But it's a neat book. It is a neat book to have. Now, here's the remastered version of the album. Yeah, I mean, just incredible. I mean, don't get me wrong. Phil Collins, phenomenal. But Pete Willis did play on this album. So that's the album. See, this is the outtakes. Yeah, outtakes and rough mixes. And it's cool. It's not anything crazy. It's not like you're like, oh, I have to have this. The one song, you can get off YouTube. Get a YouTube downloader and download that song. So this is cool. Then there's some live, and again, the live stuff is cool because Joe really. I mean, the whole band sounds great, but Joe, this is back when, and I saw them live. I saw Adrenalize. Joe was great back then. He does not sound good. This one is in Westfalen Hall in Germany. This only has it only has 6 songs on it. They do Wasted, which is awesome. This is kind of around the time where Joe really starts, and I keep pointing Joe out because he's the band. We're going to talk about that in a second. The band leader. Joe really starts to hate, especially the first album, and very picky about the second album. This one's at the LA Forum. Again, sounds phenomenal. Absolutely sounds phenomenal. Not for the price they want for it right now. But I have a feeling this is one that's going to... It's so crazy because these box sets are so insanely priced. This one I just don't think is selling. So you could probably go to your local record store and, get this for possibly cheap. This one is... Yeah, this goes into this whole thing of DVD music or Blu-ray music, but there's a couple of videos. I have not done anything with this one. So, Photograph, Rock of Ages, Foolin' Too Late for Love, Rock Till You Drop, videos, and then some of this was music. I mean, it's neat. I don't think it's an essential thing by any means. I think that early years, I should just listen to that online and do a review of that thing. But man, it aggravates me. And again, it's insanely priced, like $500, and there's no way, not for Def Leppard. Ozzy, Sabbath, that's one thing. No way in hell for Def Leppard. That's absolutely no way that type of music is being that type of money is being spent. But it's a cool little box set. I mean, if you find it for about 50 or so bucks, I get it. It's fun. It's got some really cool versions of songs on the album. Now, as we all know, Joe Elliott runs this band. We lose Pete Willis in the middle of this album. And again, a lot of this is Pete's fault. Pete's is a horrible drunk. But Pete is the only one that'll stand up to Joe. The question had been raised. Why was Pete thrown out before the accident? Why wasn't Rick Allen thrown out? Because Rick Allen could be a bad, violent drunk too. And had a bad temper by his own admission. And God bless the man. He is clean and sober. And he changed himself for the better. A lot of people, say, I know I'm bad. I know I have a problem. And, don't ever do anything about it. He did. So Rick Allen is really, really a very different person. Steve Clark, the heart and soul of this band, the guy who wrote, obviously we've seen how Def Leppard has not progressed music-wise since we lost Steve Clark. Why wasn't Steve thrown out? Because Steve wasn't going to stand up to Joe. The only person, and Joe and Pete started the band together. Joe, the only person that would stand up to Joe was Pete Willis. Had Pete not been such a bad alcoholic, he probably never would have been thrown out of the band. Now, Phil Collins, great guy, great guitar player. I see Phil Collins' name on later albums. It's not blowing me away. See Pete Willis' name on earlier albums. It's blowing me away. And I'm talking about writing credits here. So, I think if it was anybody else, they would have given Pete the chance to go to rehab. That was not in Joe's plan. Joe wants to be the undeniable force for Def Leppard, and he is. And it's a disaster. He will not acknowledge Nawabum. He's just constantly in this mindset of trying to be a 70s pop British band. You're not a 70s pop British band. You had a phenomenal sound that was all your own, that was insanely popular. You've totally thrown it down the toilet. I don't even know the name of it, but like within the past 3 days, they just released another song. I listened to it. It was terrible. They did one a year or so ago. It sounds like 73 or something. It's terrible. I mean, the stuff they are releasing is awful. And they don't even write together. They don't do anything together. They are... They proudly say that they send each other files, and that's not how a band works. I'm not in a band, I know, and some of you are like, what do you know? Blah, blah, blah. Go eat a hamburger. It's not how a band works. Be together, write together, record together, argue with each other. Don't record a file and send it off and say, this will be the next stuff. They're the best thing since we've done since Hysteria. No, you can't even touch that album. My view, Def Leppard's had 5 albums. All of them have the fingerprint of Steve Clark. They lost me after Adrenalize. I do like Adrenalize. I did that video. I do not think it sucks. I really like Adrenalize. I love Hysteria. I love all 5. I love the first 5 albums. My favorite is High and Dry. I actually did a ranking years ago where Pyromania came out number 1. Man, it's close. But now High and Dry would pull it off most of the time. I don't know. God, it kills me to say, especially with bands we love, but I think it's time for them to hang it up. They don't sound great live, and I am not the only person that says that. I am not a Vivian Campbell guy, especially in Def Leppard. And their direction is just so misguided. Do I think they could do it right and record another phenomenal album? Yes, but it's never going to happen because here's why. Rick Savage is another great writer and player. Love Rick Savage. Somebody needs to tell Joe Elliott to shut up. They also would be great if they got Mutt Lange, but Mutt Lange is done. Absolutely done. But they could still pull it off. Pete Willis, they won't do it. They would never do it. I think it would be the smartest thing they could do. No, they don't have to kick. They could do an Iron Maiden with 3 guitar players. Not say throw Viv out the band. Bring Pete back in. Oh, could you imagine the interest? Because there's now, yeah, they're still selling out stadiums, and they're still so on that line. They're a nostalgia act. People are going to see them because they want to hear "Pour Some Sugar on Me." They want to hear "Foolin'." They want to hear "Photograph." They want to hear "Bringing On the Heartbreak." Yes, but nobody wants to hear anything after Hysteria. Very few people want to hear anything off Adrenalize. I do. I don't mind it. There's some stupid songs on that album too, but they're a nostalgia tour band. Nobody's buying the new albums. But could you imagine if the name Pete Will, they said, you know what, one final album, but that's it. All bets are off. Pete's back, dude. Everyone would go nuts. Everybody would go crazy. But that doesn't fit with Joe Elliott trying to be, what's the band he always talks about? Sweet. He wants to be sweet. And then, of course, and I'll say this every single time, when the Book of Rock is written, I want us to be as close to the Beatles and the Stones. Well, guess what, buddy? Everything you've done after Adrenalize has pushed you farther and farther away from that goal. You had a phenomenal sound. Stick with it. It literally is like Ferrari saying, you know what, we're going to stop making these cars. Somebody go in and get the plans for the Etzel. Let's build that. Any rate, all right, well, I didn't expect to go on a rampage, but you know what the hell, why not? But this is cool. Again, if you get it cheap, if you can get this guy cheap, $50 or so, if it's, I would assume, I don't even remember where I got it. Maybe a local record store where it's been sitting on the shelf for God knows how long, because I have seen this at Rolling Stone sitting on the shelf. Now, it's not what I paid for when I got this. It's still kind of heavily priced at Rolling Stones. I think it's like $100, and there's no way I would spend $100 for that. But maybe you go to a local record store where somebody's willing to do a little swagger, or maybe just say, hey, yeah, here, this thing's been sitting here for 5 years, $50, $40, whatever it may be. Okay, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. It's it's a decent little box set. And like I said, you can find it cheap. I suggest getting it. If you get it for, I think the asking price is still $100. I absolutely would not waste my money. So, like, subscribe, and I will see you.